What's up, YouTube? Figure I'd make a quick little progress video of what I have going on with the build now. I've made a lot of progress. You might not be able to see it in this video, but you'll see in the coming videos a lot of things coming together. Just real quick, first thing I've done recently with a buddy of mine, Jared, up in Madison, Georgia. We put some airbags, some helper bags in the rear. We also put these timbering, I can't remember what you call them, the bump stops in place. It's funny because the truck squats so much that it just rests on those bump stops all the time. But those are 6,000 pound rated bump stops. I'm going to try to add a little more air to the bags. I got them at 20 psi right now, and hope that that lifts the truck ever so slightly off those bump stops. And then I'm going to replace the rear shocks right here with some newer ones because these are blown. So the suspension is doing much better than before. It's not having so much body roll like it was before. All right, the next big update. There's nothing back here, right? If you go back and watch previous videos, before it was all basically wood coming off the enclosure all the way to here, blocking all that off. The battery was shifted over to the left. So right now I'm in the process of having a amp rack built, and I'm going to end up stacking 6 Salt 8s up the amp rack. If I can figure out how to edit this video, I'll include some photos of the actual amp rack here. Once the amp rack is in place, I'm going to obviously clean all this up much better, new wire, all that. I'm going to have this basically closed off. If you've seen Salt Shaker's build, or if you're familiar with who that is, I believe his name is Matthew, something like that. His Salt Shaker build is kind of like the inspiration. I was in the middle of having the amp rack built, and then I started seeing his progress photos, and I was like, man, me and that guy are going to have damn near the same idea, same style going on. So definitely didn't copy him, but once I saw his end result, I was like, yep, that's for sure. That's the look I'm going for. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do something similar to him as far as having a couple speakers back here in the rear. I'm not a fan of stunt walls. I think they are the absolute stupidest shit in car audio. They ruin shows. I just fucking hate those guys. So the plan is I'm going to put the absolute loudest speakers I can back here, and I'm going to put them on a nasty amp with some power, and I'm going to have them set to a switch. So when those stupid ass stunt wall guys get to the shows and they pull up and they have their shit blasting, and they have their one guy that came with them to the show standing there with them the whole fucking time admiring it, you know, annoying the fuck out of everyone else, I'm going to back this up as close as I can to them, open the rear fucking door, and I'm going to let it blast in their direction. I'm just going to let it play some Rick Astley, Never Gonna Give You Up, or I'm going to let it blast some Barbie Girl, and I'm just going to walk away. I'm just going to let it play and just let it eat and just annoy him back. You know, you can't beat them, join them. Obviously, I'm not going to do this to the bass heads out there enjoying the show. This is solely meant to just aggravate the piss out of those guys that are out there with the stupid ass stunt walls. There's just obnoxious stunt walls. Alright, so like I said, 6 Salt 8s back here in the back. So that means I have to rewire my subs, because right now I have 3 subs wired to a pair of amps, right? So to do so, I'm unfortunately going to have to pull all my subs down here, and these as well, to be able to get these out, to rewire them. And I've just decided that while I have the subs out, I'm going to go ahead and paint the enclosure. Not the whole enclosure. I'm just going to redo this red. And the color scheme I'm going to go with, since it's already got black and it's already got gray to the back, I'm going to do this red and solid black. So it'll be black and gray. And then at the same time, while I have the carpet and everything exposed, I'm going to go ahead and pull it out, because as you can see, it's stained up pretty good. I'm either going to replace it with some black carpet, or I'm going to hit it with multiple light coats of black spray paint, just to, you know, darken it up a bit. First I'm going to pressure wash it, clean it as good as I can, then I'm going to hit it with all the spray paint. Going to be building a custom center console. It's going to have one or two of these Crossfire mids in it on each side at an angle, pointing up to the driver and the passenger. Because once these doors are closed, like you can kind of see over there, the only speakers you're really hearing are going to be these ones in the bottom corner. So full tilt demo 160s on music, You can hear it for sure, especially with the tweeters up top, but I'd like you to be able to hear the vocals a little bit more when I'm going full tilt. And I think by having a speaker on each side at least, facing up at an angle, that'll give you a little bit more clarity, and you'll be able to hear them a bit better. Other than that, truck's coming along. Like I said, making progress. I'm not going to be at Slamology, but the plan is right now that I will be at the Sundown show, and I will also be at Ruckus. So if you're interested in catching a demo, please come by, catch a demo. These are a couple of the Salt 8s. I got another one sitting at my buddy's house right now, and I got one more on the way in the mail right now. So the amp rack will be in this week, hopefully. Subs will be out and rewired. Box will be painted this weekend. Put the subs back in it once it dries really good. One thing I do got to fix on the truck, that I've had this issue since I got the truck, and I've let it be. Never cared to fix it. It does have a transmission leak. It's leaking out a little seat pole on the back of the drive shaft yoke. Many people told me, oh, just throw some JB Weld on that seat pole and it'll stop leaking. You won't have any issues. Well, that's great, but I've already done it twice now. I've let it cure for days. I've done it from the inside and the outside, and guess what? Still fucking leaks. So that's why I have it parked facing downhill to help with that leak. But I just keep an eye on it. Every time I go to a show that's like 6 to 10 hours, when I stop at gas stations, I'll just check my fluid levels. It is a 215,000 mile 4L60E, and to my knowledge, I don't believe the transmission's been rebuilt or replaced, so it's a ticking time bomb. Any day now, this transmission's going to pack its bags and go ahead and head on south somewhere. So plans are possibly put a 4L80 in it. If not a 4L80, then I'll be just buying a beefed up 4L60. There's a company in North Georgia that sells some that are built solely for towing. That, along with a better torque converter, will definitely help a lot. Not to mention, I do have a very slow rear main seal leak in this truck. I've known about it, but I've refused to drop the transmission to replace that because the way I see it, once I replace the transmission, it's inevitable that I will. That'll be the time that I actually go ahead and pull the transmission and the rear main seal. So for now, I'll just keep the drip pan down there. Even with it parked downhill, I just don't want it dripping all in my driveway. You can kind of see where I had it parked uphill at one point, and a long time ago it dripped a little bit and just aggravated me. Oh, one thing I just noticed, this is where I added the valve stems for the airbags, so it's quick and easy to raise and lower them. Like I said, I'm going to end up adding a little bit more to those. I'm not sure if I showed this in a previous video, but I'm running the 2 Salt 200.4s for my doors and my A-pillars for now. Looking forward to cleaning this up and painting this out of the box really well. Future plans though, next year, after TDH in March of next year, I know people are going to lose their minds, but I'm considering ripping the entire enclosure out. I know, it's a JECAR build. Holy shit, you're going to throw away a JECAR build. Yes, it served its purpose. It's been an awesome build for the previous owner as well as myself, but I think after as many shows as I would have knocked out by March of next year, it's kind of, got its full potential, especially now that it's going to have the amount of power it's going to have on it. I don't think there's much more to improve once I add that kind of power to it. So I'm going to add that power, hit up some big shows this year, hit up a big show next year too, and then I'm ripping this out, and it's going full steel cage. I want to go full steel cage for a couple different reasons. One reason is I want to maximize every single bit of airspace I possibly can, because I got this crazy idea of trying to squeeze 8/18s instead of 6. I know it's possible, especially with the amount of power I have to use. I can get away with it a bit, especially using the Phi subwoofers if I keep those, because the Phis tend to not require as much airspace as some of the Sundowns. That's not a knock on Sundowns, they're great subwoofers, but I just appreciate the fact that I'm able to get away with a little smaller enclosure using the Team Phis. I think they call for anywhere from 5.5 or 5 cubic foot to 7 cubic foot per 18. And I'm throwing more than 2.5 times rated power at them, so I think I can get away with squeezing them in a little bit lower volume. if you have any questions or if you have any inputs to my ideas, hey, if you think the idea is stupid as shit, or if you just want to buy the whole damn truck with or without equipment, let me know. That's also a possibility. I've had a lot of people tell me, oh, you'd be an idiot not to just sell it outright and then start fresh with another build rather than tearing this out. I've thought about that. I have. But it would take the right person and the right offer to come along for me to sell this thing with or without equipment. If I did sell it, I would probably want to sell it with probably just the electrical. So you might get just batteries and alternators and rolling shell essentially. So enclosure and the electrical. That'd be all that you get. I might be willing to sell it with the amps and the subs, but you'd have to be throwing a decent offer at me to get me to do it. I've driven this truck all the way to Virginia, 10.5 hour drive for me just a couple months ago, and then drove it all the way back. Like I said, yeah, it's got a couple little leaks here and there, but 200,000 mile 4L60 with a 4.8 liter Chevy motor in it. I mean, newer tires, like the body's in good shape, paint's in really good shape. It wasn't painted too long before I got it. It would be crazy of me to just let this thing go for super cheap. I know how much I pay for it. I know how much I put into it. And when I say put into it, I don't just mean the equipment. I mean the amount of time I put into it. You can argue that, you know, equipment loses its value, whatever you want, that's fine. But the amount of time I have tied up into it, the character that this truck has to it and will have to it once I finish up what I'm doing, I personally can't put a dollar amount on it, because this is the first vehicle I've owned, and I'm telling you, I've owned 30 plus Civics and S chassis and base builds and all this other shit, and this has been the first one that since I've gotten it, I've just been happy. It's been all smiles. Like, not once have I thought to myself, damn, I wish I wouldn't have bought it. The only reason I'm even considering the idea of letting it go to someone else is because if I were to sell this one, I would buy a Yukon XL or a Suburban, Astrovan, Excursion, a dually with an extended wheelbase, hopefully, if I can find one. Something with a ton of room to fit a ton of cone area. Like I said, I know I can do 818s in here. Ramondo Walker has 918s in his Tahoe, a little bit newer model. And then there's also, I'm trying to think. Oh, Jonathan Price. He's got fucking the Neo, Sundown Team Neos, and he's got 9 of them in his. And if he can get away with it, I know I can get away with it. Steel cage, a lot of power, 818s. That's the plan. But like I said, the right person comes along and wants to buy this truck, don't be silly. I can tell you right now that 15 grand wouldn't do it. Just consider the fact that it's got 600 amp hours of proto cells alone. It's got 3 Singer alternators. It's got 16 518s. It's got a JECAR Built enclosure. It's got all Crossfire doors with like 10 plus speakers. It's got 6 Salt 8s. Do the math on a Salt 8. As you can see, Salt 8s, most of them ain't even came out of the box yet. They're still brand new. So don't get crazy. You hit me up and talk about some bullshit, $12,000. I'm just going to laugh at you. I'll probably take a picture of it and just send it out to everyone to pick on you. Don't be dumb. But yeah, other than that, guys, I know I said earlier, but leave comments. Let me know what you think. Give me some input. I don't care if you shit on the ideas or not. I'd still just like to have the conversation. Thanks. It's a much longer video than I originally anticipated. I just kind of got out here and started rambling.